Thank you. Thank you for being here, Ambassador. Today is the second anniversary of the explosion at the port of Beirut. And Lebanon has had many challenges over the last couple of years. And it certainly provides fertile ground for China as they're looking at the Middle East. They have been looking at helping with the port of Beirut. 40% of Lebanon's ports are owned by China. And the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, has said that Lebanon should be looking toward more friendly nations, such as China, for support. So what are we doing to try and counter that fertile ground for China to make mischief in Lebanon?
You know, Senator, we are really actively engaged on the ground and from Washington with the government of Lebanon and working to shore up what is a real prospect of state collapse and societal collapse. You know, and China is not, I would say, in the mix at all, either in terms of significant humanitarian assistance or economic assistance. And I'd be happy to share with the committee some of the differences in the way the U.S. and China approach the Middle East, because it's quite striking. We look at the trade volume and port acquisition, and it is it's striking, but it's pretty extractive. It's pretty one-way benefit, and I would say the same thing is true in Lebanon. Lebanon is not much of a business environment, frankly. The pickings are pretty slim, and really, I'm not so concerned about the China threat there as I am about the threats to the fabric of society itself. So our efforts are in terms of getting the government to agree to an IMF program, which will release funds and sustainable funds to meet their budget and their services. Of course, we are working on what we hope will be an energy bailout arrangement. And what I would just say is, the ports notwithstanding, I really don't see the threat to our interests in Lebanon coming from China so much as from the parlous state of the state itself.
Well, obviously I mentioned the port because so much of what we see China doing is trying to control the ports as part of the significant infrastructure in the Middle East. And how are we working with the Development Finance Corporation, with the IMF, with other agencies to give countries an alternative for those infrastructure investments?
Right. Well, we're doing a number of things. One, as you say, with those elements, we are doing matchmaking with DFC and partner governments. We're also finding other prospective investors for countries who are being approached by China on ports. And we have a number of partners who are very engaged. I don't really want to go into it in this setting, but I can tell you that this is not a sort of a wide open field, and China is the only country with these ports in play. They have acquired stakes in about a dozen ports across the region. But I would also say the other piece of this is that we are in regular discussions with governments about the risk factors attendant to strategic infrastructure being bought up either in part or in whole by even Chinese private sector actors, let alone state-owned enterprises, because of this military-civilian fusion and the plethora of laws, Chinese laws that require Chinese private sector as well as state-owned enterprise to basically give access to their intelligence and to their military. So we have lit that up for a number of countries, and it has been persuasive.
Well, I think helping us to better understand how we're working in those areas is helpful, because I remember a conversation Senator Murphy and I had with a former Prime Minister of Greece several years ago when China was investing in the port of Piraeus. And he said, well, we went to the EU and the EU couldn't help us, and we came to you all and you wouldn't help us, and so the Chinese offered help. So I do think we've got to be very clear that we have to help countries have some alternatives to what's being offered by China.
Senator Murphy, if you'll allow me to finish responding, we see absolutely eye to eye with you on that, Senator. And we are very engaged both in lining up alternatives, but to really illuminating the risk factors. And I think going back to the issue of Greece and a number of countries around the world, yes, that was sort of the going in proposition. Why would you turn away free money? I mean, what's not to love about an investor coming in, except the other side of that investment? There has been debt financing issues around the globe, but there are sovereignty issues. Nobody's signing up when they offer a commercial port in part or in whole for sale. Nobody's signing up for the PLA to use that facility, and yet this is what is becoming clearer as a risk for countries. And fortunately, the other thing that we have going for us in the Middle East is sort of a sovereignty neuralgia about things like this, and this is something that we really play to, frankly.
Can you explain what you mean more by
Well,
that?
I would say an acute sense of sovereignty and especially when it comes, for instance, in Iraq, strong sense that national assets are national assets, and they shall not be even sold off to foreign private sector, let alone foreign governments. And so it's a residue, it's a legacy of colonial history, but it's quite a strong thing, and it's something that we can work with.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.